Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching. I'm your host, the Report of the Week, and I wanted to do a random video for you all. I was thinking about what I was saying about a week or so ago, and in my mind, I was thinking, do I want to do this pizza review? And I was thinking about Little Caesars and this and that, and I thought, well, as interesting as that Little Caesars pizza is, and I will get to it, I am curious as to how it tastes. I want to talk about a few other things on this channel too, and you know what? If anyone watches it, anyone watches it. If no one watches it, that's fine too. But I want to kind of get a few thoughts and just share them to you, and just get them out there, and that's that. Of course, here in the United States, and as we know with the news cycle, right, whatever happens in the U.S. ends up being world news too, because that's just the way the news is at this point in time. But of course, here in the United States, election day is coming around the bend. It's still a few days off, but it's getting quite close. And I think you're seeing a lot of videos and publications from one person or another saying, I endorse this individual or I endorse that individual, telling you to go out and vote for this person or go out and vote for this political party or have this political affiliation. And then they'll list some reasons. They'll say, well, because of this, and so on and so forth. This isn't going to be one of those videos. In my opinion, I think that the environment, especially the social environment in the US and even in the world, when it comes down to politics, is extremely divisive, extremely vitriolic, and as a result of that, it's just, if there's one thing that you can get people to agree on, you can get people to agree that political issues are more divisive than ever, at least in recent times. And then when you ask people for a solution, everyone will just go ahead and point fingers at one another and say, well, it's them that are doing it. And it's one of those things. Is there even a solution? I have no idea. And I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to tread there. And that's not what this video is about. When it comes down to election day, I'll say it short and sweet. So if you're short on time, this is the point of the video. If you're registered to vote and you haven't voted already, I implore you, I beg of you, that is what it comes down to. I implore you to go out and vote. You can vote early. You can vote this election day. I beg of you to go out and vote. As a U.S. citizen, it is your right to vote. And please, exercise that right. That's all that I ask of you. Exercise that right to vote. People will sometimes say, might see it on the news here and there, where they say, the voter turnout amongst young people for the midterm elections is low. Perhaps maybe at only 20%. And I voted early. As a matter of fact, I voted early in Florida, one of the most contested swing states where you have all the major political parties dumping so much money and resources into campaigns here. I voted early, and voter turnout was high. There were a lot of people at the polling place. However, the average age of all the people that were at the polling place was probably in their 60s and 70s, and yeah, there were a few people in their 20s and 30s and 40s that were there. But by and large, a lot of older people, and you know what? The media was right. I didn't see a lot of young people out voting, and that was disappointing. Now, I know not everyone is registered to vote. I know that can be an issue, and if you're not registered to vote, it is what it is. But if you have the ability to do so, get out there and go to the polls, and just do it. That's all that I can tell you in just the most broad of terms. Go out there and vote this midterm election. When it comes down to it, you might be saying, yeah, well, why? Why should I, right? Why should I vote? It's not like I'm voting for president. It's not like I'm voting for anything that's really going to change my life. Governor? Yeah, maybe, but I've lived in whatever state for so many years, and it's gone from one governor to the next, and not a lot has changed. U.S. Senate, I don't even know who these guys are. House of Representatives. I mean, they all sound the same. One doesn't even seem identifiable from the next. What does it matter, right? What does it matter to vote? It's just the midterm elections. It's not like I'm voting for president or anything. So what's the point? Why should I go out and spend my time at the polls to vote for something that, to me, seems irrelevant? Well, here's why. I know when it comes down to the midterm elections, it's not the most popular thing in the world. Sure, if you look at political channels and whatnot, you'll have people talking about it 24/7 like it's life or death. Keep this in mind. A lot of people are really driven to vote under two circumstances. Circumstance number one, if it's a massive election, like the presidential election, for instance, something that people are still talking about for years and years, and might even end up in the history books, and it's a massive event. Right? Something that gives people that motivation to go out, perhaps to feel like they're part of something bigger, or just to get into the hype, or whatever it is. So, one thing, of course, if it's a huge thing. But here's the second and most important thing. When it comes down to voting, even if it's for people that that don't care, right? You see all these old gray politicians, and it doesn't matter, right? They're not president. Nothing's going to change. Well, be careful what you wish for. Things do end up trickling their way down, sometimes at a pace so slow we don't even realize it day to day. We don't really recognize changes going on in the world around us, but they happen. They happen, sometimes at a snail's pace, but they happen nonetheless. And some of the biggest changes in our lives come from the legislation that ends up getting passed, enacted, or perhaps repealed by politicians that are elected into office, be it at the federal government, state, local government, or via ballot measures. Look, some of these people, I know you might not even know who they are or what are their platforms. The decisions that they make, or the decisions that they won't make, will very likely, in one way or another, trickle down and impact your life directly. You might not realize it now. You might not realize it a year from now. But 3, 5, 10 years from now, you can't predict the future, but you might end up looking back at some of the things that got passed or repealed. You might be saying, I wish I could have done something about it. This is your chance to do just that. You might not know who these candidates are. Research it. And it is so easy to do it too. I cannot emphasize how easy it is to research political issues in this day and age. Almost all of us have a smartphone. A computer right there in your pocket. You probably have reliable internet or Wi-Fi or data. If you're watching this right now, you have a connection to the internet. You can look up who the candidates are. You can look up where your polling place is. They make it so easy. You can look up who's running for office. You can just click on it. Oh, well, there you go. It's right there on Wikipedia. It's there on certain political sites. You can get a good bio of who this person is, what they stand for, what their views on various issues are. And you can do that for each candidate. Yeah, you might say, well, research, right? It sounds like something I'm going to have to buy 20 Red Bulls and stay in the library for 8 hours, and, it's just going to be a grueling task. It's not going to be, trust me. Of course, I am interested in politics, and I follow it quite a bit. But when I was given the sample ballot, and I did research all the candidates that were on that ballot, it took me no more than probably 15-20 minutes to know who and what I wanted to vote for. And vote I did. I went out early, as I said, and I very proudly casted my vote. So I implore you, go out and vote, and make sure you research the people that you are going to vote for. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and go vote for one person or another, or one party or another. I'll say this, though. I would personally recommend that you vote person, not party. Research these candidates, whoever it may be for you, wherever it may be for you. Research these candidates, these individuals, look them up, and make a concise, informed decision as to whom you're going to cast your vote for, and who you feel is the most qualified, experienced individual that cares about you as a person, that cares about your community, your state, that you think would be able to handle their job with dignity, professionalism, and maturity. And sometimes you're going to find yourself in a position where you're going to look at both major parties and you're going to say, I don't think that any one of these big candidates really goes with what I'm kind of looking for. Then you know what? You have the ability to vote third party, vote NPA, write in. You know what? If you disagree with everyone on the ballot, then still exercise your vote and go ahead and write a vote for Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse isn't going to win the election, but you're still exercising your right to vote. I implore you to go ahead this election day and use it. Just research those candidates, look it up, make that decision. On one final note, if anything else, maybe this didn't convince you, and you know what, that's completely fine. But keep this in mind too. On that ballot is very likely not going to just be a list of, alright, is it going to be candidate blah 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 for mayor, and so-and-so for governor, and so-and-so for senate, and that's just those three things. More likely than not, you're going to have people that are that are going for all varying positions in the state and government, but also there may very well be amendments or propositions on the ballot where it will literally be, do you think, or perhaps should this or that be banned in whatever? Or should this be in, and it will be real life circumstances that very likely will impact your life directly, that right now you have the ability to support or oppose. Every single vote counts, every single vote matters. Research those amendments or propositions, whatever they might call it in your state, that are on the ballot, and look it up. If there's anything that's going to impact your life, it's going to be those. It's really easy to research it. The wording can be tricky and confusing, I know, but there's ways to find out what they're trying to tell you in plain English. Go out, research it, look it up, and just please vote for who and what you feel is best for your area, for you, the people that you care about. It's all that I ask of you. Sometimes people will try and peer pressure you. They'll try and tell you to, just vote for this person because that's what everyone else is doing. Ignore them. When you're there at the polling place, at the ballot, you have that anonymity. Don't let someone else bully you or pressure you or intimidate you into voting for one individual or one thing or another if that's not what you truly feel about. Research it, look it up, and you know what? Keep this in mind too. You don't have to tell other people who or what you voted for. It's your right to keep that private too. Because sometimes I'll see individuals out there. I remember in a personal situation, there was one individual I remember, seemed like the most friendly person in the world. Seemed like a great guy and a wonderful person, in public, just like a model citizen. And then you saw this person's social media, and you realized what a repulsive, disgusting individual he was. Sometimes people behind closed doors can be night and day of what you think that they really, truly may be. All that I ask of you is vote your conscience, really. And vote for who you think really, truly cares about you, even if it's not in a major party. And if you don't think any major party or third party or NPA does it for you, then write in at that. I really just hope you can go out, vote, exercise that right to vote. That's all that I ask of you this election day. It's such an important thing. One of the most wonderful things about a democracy. Please just exercise that right. That's all that I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, the Report of the Week. Thank you for tuning in to this video where I just kind of talked about election day and voting, and just research it. Don't go off of just what one media outlet is saying or what another media outlet is saying or what one one public figure or one meme or whatever is saying. Research it independently, and it can be quite an easy task too. You can realize very quickly that you could formulate your own opinion. You could realize, oh, wow, this candidate, this is the kind of person I want in office. You could say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize that this person is that. Oh, I'm going to start looking into other options. Just do your research, go out and vote. I talk about this to a lot more length in my radio show. It's something that I put so much time, so much effort and energy into each and every week for you. I really, really hope you could check this one out. I kind of talk about the divisiveness in this country today, as well as the upcoming elections. It's a 2-hour show. 1 hour talks about some more serious issues. The second kind of just goes into music. Really recommend you check it out on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/VORW_radio_INT, or listen on your shortwave radio. Scheduling info is in the description, in the pinned comments. Thank you for tuning in. I just hope you can go out and vote. Have a wonderful early November. That's all that I have for you. Take care. I'm your host, the Report of the Week.